In the final days of the Cold War, MI6 agent Lorraine Broughton is sent to Berlin to investigate the death of her ex-lover and retrieve a top-secret list. Lorraine employs David Percival, an undercover agent in Berlin, to assist her on her mission. Before watching this film, I was hopeful. I hadn't seen any of the trailers, so I didn't know what to expect, but when I walked out of that film, I felt disappointed. I felt empty. Apart from the fact that she's a jaded MI6 agent, we really don't know or find out anything about Lorraine Broughton. And the same is true of David Percival, Lorraine's contact in Berlin. He's a jaded MI6 agent as well, but he's been in Berlin so long that he's really gone rogue. He's making up his own rules. That makes him a little bit more interesting, but really it's the same thing. It's like we don't know anything about these characters. We just know that they're spies, and we know that they're good at fighting. Performance-wise, Charlize Theron and James McAvoy give very good performances. They did what they could with what they had. And the other characters in the film, they're not even really worth mentioning. They're just tropes. They're just there to move the story along. We have a love interest, a CIA agent, a MI6 superior, a KGB officer, a Russian bad guy, etc. I liked the cinematography. I like Jonathan Sieler's cinematography. He was the cinematographer on John Wick, as well as Max Payne, and he will be the same cinematographer on Deadpool 2, along with the director of this film, David Leitch. I really liked the soundtrack. The fight choreography was obviously awesome because the film was directed by a fight choreographer. Another thing I liked were the outfits. The outfits in the film I thought were really cool. They managed to make the 80s look sexy. There's a lot of smoking in the film. Every scene, someone is smoking a cigarette, and it's like, it got to the point, like, why is everyone smoking all the time? And it got distracting. One of my favorite things about action movies is the dialogue. This film didn't deliver on the dialogue for me. It was dry. That's the only way I can describe it. It was dry and cynical and depressing. I felt depressed watching this film.
How well do you know James Gascoigne?
Enough to say hello.
He's dead.
What let this film down most, more than the lack of comic relief, more than the lack of character development, was the convoluted plot. Very little happens in this film. David Leitch just wants to showcase his exceptional fight choreography. It doesn't matter who these people are. It doesn't matter what they're doing. What matters is how cool it looks when they punch each other. And really, this is all you should expect from Brad Pitt's stuntman's directorial debut. I do not recommend this film to anyone other than stuntmen and people who are looking to learn new Krav Maga moves. Maybe they can learn something from a film like this. There's really no memorable characters. You don't care about these characters after you leave the cinema. You don't care about what happened in the film. That's really irrelevant. And yeah, I mean, I need more from a film, and I think the average action movie goer needs more from a film than this. They need a character they can remember and relate to. They need some witty dialogue that they can remember and think back on and say, yeah, that was a good line, that shit was funny, or that shit was badass. This film doesn't have any of those memorable moments. It just has scene after scene of fighting and shooting. I mean, we like those things, we want those things, but we also want characters we can relate to. We also want a plot that is interesting, that keeps us engaged, and this film just didn't cut it. I cannot recommend this film. Watch it at your own risk of boredom. You have been warned.